Hey, what's going on, guys? The RE100 line is back with Bandai recently announcing the RE100 Dinan Gay once again. Unfortunately, though, it is going to be another premium Bandai release. So with the last couple of RE100 releases all being premium Bandai, that seems like it may just be the case going forward. But it's good to know that the line's not dead. That said, for today's video, here we're going to be taking a look at the RE100 Lindwurms. This is a few years old now at this point, originally released in 2022. I'm just now kind of getting to it. I actually didn't get it when it first released. I ended up getting it later, a bit more recently. And so this I thought would be a great time to take a look at this kit. So we'll check out the box here briefly and the contents inside, and then we'll get to the build to kit, see how it goes. Let's get into it for today's video. And so as we can see with this really cool box art there, you can see the Gundam in, although you can't see it in color here, it's in the kind of traditional Gundam tricolor scheme, doing a very good Zeta impression, although this is actually based on the RE100 Bawu kit, which was a really nice kit and had a cool transformation and all that. So we'll see how much of that is retained here for this variation. But this is another Naoki design, as I believe, with this being a part of the Genius headline, all of the Genius head build divers releases all being of Naoki's design works. So basically what that means is that it's a pretty cool design. So let's get into our contents inside here. Looks like we do have a couple of stickers. Let's check those out here real quick. Very interesting indeed, as we have a regular foil sticker sheet here for the eyes and this camera. I'm gonna guess that's for the rifle scope. And then right here, this nice set of these plastic stickers. This would be like what we had with like the Perfect Grade Unleashed ARC 782 Gundam. These stickers where it's like a regular foil sticker basically with like a thin layer of clear plastic over the top. So these actually look really nice on the kit. And then even better, some water slide decals here. So always great to have water slide decals included. This one being a premium Bandai release means that it's not guaranteed to have water slide decals, but it is really nice to see these. We don't have a ton, just like some like caution markings, a handful of those in red and white, and then some larger markings on here, which look really, really cool. So really glad to see those. And then, yeah, as I expected, it's not going to be the Bawu manual. We will have a fully new and original manual here for this one, where you can see the full color version of the box art there, looking super cool. So really like that. On the back side is going to be our marking guide, where you can kind of get a better look at how the kit is going to look, all built, painted, and decaled up with the markings and everything. So that's where those go. Painting guide down here at the bottom is pretty straightforward in terms of the colors, although Naoki is going to add his little bit of twist so that the yellow will be a little bit more orange, the red will be a little bit actually slightly leaning to purple, and the blue as well will also be slightly leaning to purple there if you wanted to try to match the colors exactly. But on the inside here, we've got our parts list there. You can see we do have some leftover parts. It looks like all those X's are going to be most likely just Bawu parts that are not going to be used here for this. This shows the order of construction, and then we will still have the transformation here, it looks like, too, which honestly I don't really care that much for the Bawu's transformation, and I won't really care for it much with this one either. I'm just going to keep it in mobile suit form, but I will show you the transformation in the review portion of the video, just for any of you guys that are wondering about that. It's a pretty simple transformation, and with this not being a master grade, it's not quite as complex as it is sometimes with the master grades. Because of the inner frame, the transformations for kits like this can be a little bit more complex. This one's, fairly straightforward, just basically separating the mobile suit into the top and bottom half, and then doing a little bit of folding and everything, and that's pretty much about it. Now, one thing that we don't have in here that I kind of would have expected and would have liked to have seen would have been an action base. We unfortunately don't have that, but we do have lots of runners to get through, so let's go ahead and check those out. And first of all, we do have some polycaps here, PC210, and this is the standard polycap runner that a lot of RE100 kits use. Runner SB1 here for our clear beam saber effect parts. This is also the standard 1/100 scale beam saber effect part runner, but in this case it's in clear blue, which is somewhat unique, pretty cool. The A runner here being some parts in white, and of course the first handful of runners are all just going to be from the Bawu, so obviously you'll have some recognizable parts on there. Runners B and C are going to be some of the internal frame kind of joint parts here in gray. There's runner B. Runner C we have two of for some of the joints for in the arms and legs. Runner D we have two of for the rest of our white parts here for the kit, a bunch more of those. Runner E1 we also have two of, some parts here, some accents in that nice orangish yellow color. Then runner F here in this really nice blue color for some more bits around the torso and that. Then runner H here, the last of our runners from the Bawu bow. We've got a couple of black parts up there for the shield, a couple of gray parts down here for the weapon, and a few more orange-yellow parts there for some accents throughout the middle of the runner. And then we're getting into the parts that are specifically labeled for the Gundam Lindwurm here, runner I1 and then I2, which is a copy of this section of the runner there. Some new parts here in gray. Runners J1 and J2, some more parts here in blue, with runner J2 being a copy of this section of the runner like so. And last but not least, runner K here has some new white parts, yellow parts, red parts, and then a new clear green part up there for in the head, and that's it. So a lot of really new quite a good amount of new parts here with this one. Let's go ahead and get it built up and check it out. Alright guys, and here it is all built up, quite large and super cool. What a really cool design. I love the color placements here on this, especially like that yellow on the back of the arms is such a cool color choice. And just the details and the proportions, everything on this looks super cool. It really makes me miss the RE100 line, because I love how they look, how they basically look like master grades on the outside, but just don't quite have that complexity, which could either be a positive or a negative. But for me, I really love building high grades, and so building something that's like similar in complexity, albeit slightly more complex than a high grade, but building something in this size and scale, but not having a ton of parts to deal with is a really enjoyable process for me. So let's go ahead and check it out here in some more detail, starting off with our accessories. And so starting off for our hand options, as you can see here, we have these closed fists, which are really nice. Those are just going to be the type where you can just swap the fingers. The thumb is on a ball joint there, by the way, and then we just swap the fingers here for this set of weapon holding fingers here for the left and the right side. And unfortunately, that's it. So it's nice to have the closed fist options in there. It really would have been nice to also have a set of open expressive fingers in there for the hands as well, but those weapon holding hands are going to be for holding on to our beam rifle here. Now you have a sticker for the lens on that. As you can see, we have a tab in the handle here on both the left and the right side for plugging into the hand for a better grip on that. Really nice design on this one. You will have what looks to be like a little bit of a seam line here on parts of the gun, and other areas it's just kind of hidden as a panel line. This little white piece here at the back doesn't lift up or anything, that's just stuck there in place. And yeah, it looks like maybe some seam line here around the back end there as well, so that'll need to be taken care of, but otherwise nice design, nice details here on that. Other handheld weapons just going to be the beam sabers, and the handles are just plugged right here into the forearm. These, as you can see, also have a tab there on the side for plugging into the hand, and then we've got our clear blue beam saber effect parts that can be plugged into here. Kind of tight, so be careful with that. You don't want the end to break off inside there. Kind of a pain to get that out, but that is going to work just like that. And then our shield here in black and white, cool design on this. It's gotten rid of like the like verniers or beam emitters. I'm not sure which it is actually is on the original Bao shield, but they're on the front just with this white piece of armor on the back side. Some nice detail there, not bad. Would have been nice if this piece was gray instead of black, but you can just paint that. You have this connection piece right here for plugging that onto the back side of the arm. Unfortunately, there's no way to attach this onto the side of the arm if you preferred, which I definitely prefer, but that just fits onto the back of the arm here like that. Otherwise, we've just got our two different action base adapters here. Now these are going to be for holding the mobile suit in different forms, either a mobile suit form or in the separated top and bottom forms. And I'll show you the transformation here, what it looks like transformed anyway, here in just a minute. So it's a pretty standard loadout of beam rifle, beam sabers, and a shield. But then of course you do, again, also have those awesome water slide decals you can add on there. And these 3D stickers, which I've not placed on there because these are just really quite nice. And so I'll use these once the kit is actually fully painted. But those go on the head cameras, front and back, and then on these two cameras here on the sides of the top of the chest there. Overall, as I was saying, I really like the surface detail that you have here, very reminiscent of being a master grade, but obviously without all the complexities of a master grade. Like up underneath the skirt, for example, you have nice details there, but it's not going to be a separate piece or anything. And then same thing goes for with like a lot of the kit. It's basically got all the details on the outside of what would look sort of like a master grade, but it's all just kind of quite hollow on the inside. It may be without as much part separation. You can imagine maybe if this was a master grade, for example, these parts here for the side of the leg, this white piece is just one big white piece on one side and one on the other. If this were a master grade, it probably would be separated into a couple more pieces there. But really, when it comes down to like painting the kit, it doesn't necessarily need to be. I mean, you could mask it if you wanted it to be separate colors, but all the details there. You have the panel line hidden as a seam line going down here through the back of the leg there, so you don't really need to worry too much about it. The same thing with the seam line in other areas, like here on this yellow part on the back of the arm. It's just hidden as like a kind of detail line there. This part will still open up in the side of the forearm, and you do have the little missiles in there. It's another weapon, I guess, that it has. Not necessarily an accessory, but a weapon built into the suit. So that little bit opens on both arms, like the yellow coming through for the vents in the arms here as well. And like I said, this yellow color app here for the part on the back of the arm is quite unique. I like that a lot. And it's also pretty cool here how these yellow vent parts on the front side of the chest and like the back of the chest back here actually work to just be a nice like color accent detail there. But they also work for holding the parts together. So there's like a top part of the chest and this bottom part of the chest that are held together. And you can see the little line in the middle of that yellow vent there. That's because those yellow vent parts are actually like clamping the top and bottom parts of the blue parts of the chest there together. So really cool. You have a regular sticker there for the eyes, which I did put on there. The head sculpt looks really nice. You have that gray part coming out for like the Vulcans and the vent on the side of the head, so that looks good. And then around here on the back, I guess this is another sort of accessory slash built-in weapon. You have the missiles here that are attached onto the underside of the wing. And I'll admit, they do kind of look a bit odd there being molded in blue. So I would honestly probably just opt to omit those entirely. I mean, if you're not planning on painting them, just because although those are just basically carried over from the Bau and you have like other different types of weaponry with this, I would just honestly, if it was me, I'd probably just omit those. But even though we don't necessarily have as much going on under the hood as you would if this was a kind of standard master grade, you do still have a lot of really nice posability with this. So let's try out some poses with this and we'll also check out how it looks transformed. And with this kit having a very standard Gundam loadout of beam rifle, shield, beam sabers, you know, it's going to be limited to just kind of your standard Gundam poses, which it can do quite well. As I mentioned, the articulation on this is really quite nice. It is quite large, and despite being very hollow, it is still pretty heavy just because of the legs in particular being quite bulky there. So that is one thing I worried about a little bit, is if it was going to have any weight issues. It seems to be doing okay though, so I think you're all right. Getting an action base with this is definitely recommended. As I mentioned in the unboxing, it's kind of a shame that it didn't come with one. I feel like it really should have. Though kits like this, even larger kits, 1/100 scale kits, including action bases, is absolutely not a guarantee. It's actually somewhat rare, kind of few and far between. For a premium Bandai kit like this, the one that's like obviously sort of meant to be like flying around in space and everything, I feel like it kind of would have made a lot of sense to include an action base with this. But on the other hand, we did get water slide decals, so that's nice. But if you're planning on getting this kit, I would definitely get an action base to display it up on that. So I mean, it does look really good in just kind of a standard standing pose as well. So it's not a bad option either. But a really great looking kit. That pure white could definitely do with some panel lining. So if you're not planning on painting the kit, you might definitely want to do some panel lining on that. Just get a little bit of gray panel liner just to bring out the details in this white section. Throw the included water slide decals on there and some top coat, and it'd be a really good looking kit, even just straight out of the box. Maybe pick out a couple little details to paint in a little bit. But as for me, this is definitely one that I'll be looking forward to painting at some point in the future. But until then, you guys can check out some more Gunpla of the non-premium Bandai variety here at USA Gundam Store. The link will be down in the video description below. Check that out. And as always, guys, thanks so much for all of your support. Leaving a like if you enjoyed the video here today, making sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. Until next time, I hope y'all are doing well, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.